Hi guys, and welcome to this video demonstration of VMware vCenter Converter Standalone version 5. In many ways it looks similar to earlier versions such as version 4.3 and 4.0, but it does have some new neat features that I would like to show you. One of the most important ones is the synchronization or final synchronization feature that actually works and that I have tested successfully. So let's go right ahead and start converting a powered on physical machine and convert it into a virtual machine. So Converter Standalone is a free tool that can be downloaded from the VMware website. So here we are choosing in this case a powered on machine, and I've already pre-typed the IP address. You can also use the FQDN, and then I'll just type in credentials. And go next. We'll just ignore the SSL warning. Right, so because I already went through the process just before, it already installed the converter agent on the source machine. So there's one step here that's missing. So for placement of the VM for destination or target, you could go either on place it on a vCenter server or export it to a share. So if we chose to export to a share, you would have the possibility here to choose format. We'll choose workstation 8, give it a name, and credentials for the share. You go next. Now that would bring you further in the wizard, but we'll place it on a vCenter server instead, because that would be the typical use case. So we authenticate up against the vCenter server, and we choose to place it in a given folder and go next. In this case there's only one ESXi server in the vCenter server. We choose the next destination LUN and virtual machine version. Version 8 is the newest one that matches vSphere 5, and go next. Now this is where we configure the target machine. If we start out in the disk layout, you can see it only has one C drive and then there's a system volume. You should leave all that on default, especially when we want to use the synchronization feature. So if you would shrink it, the disk to some shrink it a bit, then you would disable the synchronization feature. So we leave it. And just to show you some of the new stuff, this is new. You can change this the block levels for disk alignment. So again, let's leave it, but interesting thing is here, if you look at the destination data stuff column here, it says block level here. If I was to change that, it would change to file level, so that it says it's slower as we're changing the disk layout. So we'll just leave it at that. And yeah, I actually tried and disabling this, unchecking this system volume, but the conversion fails, so we'll just leave it. Another new thing is that CPU has been located now in a separate tab, and you can choose number of sockets and number of cores per socket. In the earlier versions, if you chose 2 or 4 vCPUs, that would correspond to 2 or 4 sockets, and this can be relevant for licensing issues. You can have multiple cores but only 1 socket. So yeah, for networking, I normally always disconnect the NIC on power on. That way you will be able to do post-conversion tasks before actually putting it onto the network, ensuring that you won't have a duplicate VM with the same IP on the network. For services, normally I don't use this this tab. I would go into the server and manually stop the relevant application services, all non-Windows services. Stop backup if you have any SMS agent services, SQL files services, or anything like that. You would go and disable it. But when we're using the synchronization feature, we actually don't have to. We can go ahead and P2V while the server is in production, because we'll do the final synchronization in the end, and we'll go and stop the services at that point in time. But however, for destination services, normally for a physical server, there's a number of hardware related applications that you should disable upon boot. That way you won't end up in a situation where it takes forever to boot the VM. It can take up to an hour, I've experienced, because it hangs because of these hardware applications. So disable anything that's got anything to do with HP, for example, or Dell, or whichever brand of hardware you are converting from. So disable that. In this case, this is actually a virtual machine that we're converting, so I won't have any. Don't have any hardware applications on it. And now we're coming to the synchronization stuff. Tick the synchronize changes. So, but remember to uncheck the perform final synchronization, because we want to do that manually at a time that we define. So if you tick that off, it'll convert and it'll perform final synchronizations right away, and you won't be able to do it manually. So it should be unchecked, and you can schedule it if you like, but I'd rather like to do it manually. For post conversion, choose to install VMware tools. Don't customize it, and leave that on default. Do not power on the destination VM, and do not power off the source machine. We'd like to go and remove serial ports, USB ports, maybe a floppy drive, before booting the VM for the first time. I normally never use this throttling feature, so we'll just go right ahead and click next. Review the settings and go finish. Okay, so we can see in the status overview that the job is running, and in this drop down button you can choose jobs and tasks. This is the default view normally that you would see in 4.3 and early versions. So as soon as this progress bar starts counting up the percentages, then you know that the process is ongoing and it hasn't halted before it's even started. So you can right now it looks good, and you can just pause and let it finish. So now I'll stop the video and I'll just jump forward to when it finishes, and we'll continue with the final synchronization stuff. Okay, so now the conversion has completed, and everything looks fine. If you go into jobs, you can see that under the status column it says not scheduled, and that relates to the final synchronization. So a scenario could be that we started a P2V with a VM or with a physical server that was in production on a Friday. we'd let it convert overnight, and then maybe changes had typically would have occurred on the server overnight and during the beginning of the Saturday, and then maybe we have a closing window at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. When that starts, we log onto the physical server and we stop all the application related services, so no changes can occur on the server. And then we right click on the entry here and we click synchronize. Now if we had checked the perform final synchronization, that option would have been grayed out. But as soon as we now we click synchronize to do final synchronization, and this will open this wizard, and all that stuff we won't touch because we already configured that. We choose to run it immediately, and throttling we won't touch, and yeah, so we click next and we click finish. So all the changes that might have occurred from the point where we initiated the migration to the point where we're actually doing final synchronization, they will be merged. This differential will be merged into the final image, and that goes both for maybe just simple files that, let's say we place a number of new files on a desktop or on a drive, but also if you installed new applications, they will also be merged over and will be included in the synchronization, and that actually works, which is quite cool. If we go to tasks, we can see the progress. For this particular example, it will be quite fast because I haven't really made any changes to this VM, or the physical server, but obviously the more changes, the longer it'll take to merge this the changes into the main image, the main VM. We'll just let it finish. Alright, so it completed the final synchronization, and now you can go ahead, log into vCenter server, and perform post-migration tasks as you normally would during a P2V. Thanks all for watching, and yeah.